All right, call the special meeting to order. We only have one item on the agenda, but can I have a motion to adopt the agenda? So, Councillor Moslin, all those in favor? I need a seconder on seconder, Councillor Krog. We have minutes from the special go in camera, February 24th. Can I have a motion for that? Councillor Studley, second is Councillor Councillor Krog. All those in favor? And the regular minutes of February 24th, a motion to adopt.
So
Councillor Krog, second. Councillor Moslin, discussion. All those in favor? Business arising? None from them. Okay, so we only have one item of business, and unfortunately this is a closed meeting, so the participation of the proponent can be at the end of the meeting and the questions from the public.
No, so it's not a closed meeting. It's like a regular meeting. The process is like
closed to participation from the gallery.
Yeah, so it's not a committee of the whole meeting.
No. Exactly. Did I not make that clear?
I'm not streaming it, so.
Okay. So you've got the variance request in front of you. What we're looking for is that we begin the statutory requirements for this, for public notice, that we go out and do the expected notice to the public in the regional area there, because there is a regional intersection here as well. Right. Questions?
Is that all that we're doing here today? Is just approving the going
to the public statutory requirement?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
So forget about all the other information we have. Well, if we have questions about the filtration system or whatnot, this is not the time. It's just the going forward with the variance.
Right.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Seconded by Councillor Krog. Further discussion on this? Councillor Moslin?
My assumption, Mayor, is that this development will take place at the new end of the water main.
Yes.
So this development will benefit by that water main construction?
I think this development was waiting on us to put that water main in.
Yes, correct. Well, the facility needed water, so yes.
So in some ways, the city has already supported this development?
To the point.
Yes, we did need a new water main at the airport. We had I think it was a 3-inch line up there, and hydrants need a minimum of 6-inch, so we had an issue up there for fire flows already. So we did apply for the grant, got the grant to update the water main, but that also services our property as well, not just the property that was bought by the applicant.
All right, so that clarifies that the water main wasn't put in for this property. Thank you.
Councillor Studley.
Do we know the size of the facility? I'm looking at the aerial view, and about half the lot is treed, about half of it is not treed. So do we know how the proposed building may affect the treed area? Because I know people do have concerns about trees.
Most of those trees that were showing up on that aerial photo actually blew down in a windstorm, and so the bulk of them have been removed. There was a wildlife biologist was contacted. She went out and had a look and made sure there weren't any nesting trees or any species in that area, and most of the trees have been removed.
Councillor Zelinski.
So if we're questioning the development and not just going for the variance, I do have a few questions. Again, are we just talking about going forward with the variance, or now is the time to ask the questions about the project?
I think the question in front of us is going forward with it, but if we can clarify something at this point, would you be willing to?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, as much as we can.
History, buildings built, it was zoned for whatever use, it was approved, and now it's not going to be the use that was approved. So it's just some history on how we got here.
Yeah, the proponent's initial use was for the manufacturing, the food manufacturing. You'd have to talk to him specifically about how it transitioned over. But this is a permitted use in the zone. So it's not that it's not a permitted use, it's just that we had a regulation for 100 meters in residential, 100 meters in community use zone. And those zones actually don't occur within the municipality of the city. And our bylaw does specify that our bylaw only applies to property within the municipality. But I did put it out and discussed with our legal team the language in our zoning bylaw. And we were not specific in that particular section to state that it was only to 100 meters to community use zone or residential zones within the city. We just said blanket residential zones, and so he felt that it would be best to go through with this process for the development variance permit.
Okay, so none of these community use zone or residential is actually residents of the city of Grand Forks, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Councillor Moslin?
Road access for this development, is that an appropriate question to ask at this time?
Is there sufficient road access?
Through the city?
Yeah, that's the plan for the future. There actually is surveying that has been completed for the road that would go across the parcel to the south. So there is, and that was a plan that's been in the works for a number of years. So that has been surveyed. It was surveyed previously. The survey posts were already there. So yeah, that is a plan so that we can service directly from the city. There is no requirement in any legislation that the property has to be serviced from roads that are within the city. So it is serviced adequately through Birch and through, I believe, this Cascade Boulevard, but our intention is to have it serviced from the city side.
Okay.
Is that going to be a requirement of the permit, that access?
No, that would have been through the development permit process for the facility, and it's not a requirement to service through the city. And we did look at different, we did contact other communities and talk to them and ask them how they dealt with the situation. And we looked through the Transportation Act and things like that, and there's no requirement that a parcel that's in the city has to be serviced by a road from within the city. It's a fringe area, or it's pretty typical.
Yeah, as far as not a requirement, but here's the city approving an industrial use and then expecting it to drive through residential properties in someone else's jurisdiction. That's the way it was.
The intention is to push the road through, and that is through what's currently the BC Wildfire grounds. The northern portion of that was dedicated as a road dedication. And so we have been in discussions with them because they were looking at getting a brand new building and they are looking for more room. And so we've been discussing with them a land swap or moving them to a different location. And then this would be redeveloped as an airside parcel, which would be, and this is all part of the airport plan that we've been discussing, is that there may be some opportunities because they don't, BC Wildfire doesn't need airside parcel, and they do need more room. And so this has been something that's been a discussion for a number of years with the fire department on, and potentially getting them into a different location at the airport.
Okay, so since this application's in front of us for whatever reasons, nice to have it not off Birch. I would rather a requirement that the new road get pushed through, so if the proponent could speak to that as far as...
Well, it can't at this point, but this would be what we're bringing forward in terms of public input.
Well, that's why I asked whether just to make waiver.
BC Wildfire Service has a lease on that property for another 6 years, so we're working with them, and it's one of those leases that we can't get out of. So we're not doing those anymore. So they had the option to renew, but they are working with us, and like I said, they are looking at the potential for a new building, and so they're working with us on this to move it as soon as, if they do get a new building, they're not going to put it probably in that same, well, they wouldn't put it in that same location because it does encroach on the road right away. So we are working with the group, and we will be working with the groups at the airport to get that road established, and it will be happening as soon as possible.
Okay, so this is statutory requirements here. We're just moving ahead with statutory requirements. I think we're getting into a lot more detail than we need to deal with at this point today.
Well, and that's sort of why I asked whether it's just the way.
Well, and
So my last question is, what kind of response have we had from the RDKB on any referrals that we've sent them? Are we going to expect a referral or an answer back from them?
Yes.
When we did the rezoning, which was to add the cannabis production to that zone, we sent the referral to the RDKB and they had no comments. They were happy with that, but we would be contacting the RDKB in this situation. We don't have a neighborhood, it's called a good neighbor agreement or a fringe area agreement currently with the regional district, but we do have very open communication and we do chat regularly on these types of applications. So at this point, it's to get the approval to go forward with the public notification, which would include discussions with the regional district.
So, no, go ahead. I'll finish this. Yeah. So, I'm surprised that we don't have
fringe area planning.
Well, just the reciprocal notification when we back up into a municipality that we notify them anyway. Like always through the regional district, I thought that's
well, I think that's courtesy.
Yeah.
And process, but no, we don't have fringe area planning, which I'm surprised.
That's not fringe area, but just something in our planning documents that says when we abut another jurisdiction that we send them
let them know
referrals.
they just got it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, that's our standard referral process.
Yeah.
So our standard referral process, even for applications within the city, everything goes to the regional district. So for referral, and it probably gets annoying for them to see them all, but sometimes we don't know when they may have an interest in something. So we do send them pretty much everything, and it is a standard process.
Dr. Crum.
Yeah, just kind of looking at the variance and the distances, and is it because this is 57.4, which is production, processing, distribution overlay, as opposed to the retail, which was 100 meters?
Yes.
But where did these figures come from?
Dolores is about to answer.
Which ones?
Oh, to reduce to 90, so I'm assuming this is the same 100,
Yes.
but it's to a lot and community use, but our other 100 says a youth-related facility. So what's
yeah,
the difference?
yeah. This one's a little different. So this one is doesn't include. Yeah, they're a little different. The retail is a little different than the production. But
okay, yeah, but those are our numbers that we like.
100 meters.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it matches with the other one. Is that the idea? But even though they're different.
This is a discussion I think that we've talked about, is actually opening these values up for discussion to determine.
Yeah.
And now that we have a bit more information, and there are some facilities that we can start tapping into, and other communities that have dealt with this, and starting to look at these. Initially, when we brought about this 100 meter, it was we looked at what Vancouver and some other places were doing and brought those in, but we certainly could look at them. I think, from my understanding, is that the air quality issues are being dealt with, and the applicant is here if you want to ask him any questions about the air quality. And he's going over and above, to make sure there's no concerns with air quality or any odors from the facility.
You ready? Moving this forward to the statutory process. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Quick question.
Sure.
Do we have anything in our planning bylaws that says that odor complaints, that it's a nuisance? Yeah.
No, I don't think we had. We had an asphalt plant years ago, and there was no bylaws or anything.
Okay.
To the mayor, I had this discussion with Mr. Bruce, because it would be a bylaw infraction, and it is a nuisance odor. And I do believe it is covered, and if it's not covered there, then I know there's some legislation with the Environmental Act in terms of nuisance odors. We haven't, and I know that we've had some issues with some other fringe areas on agriculture where we've had some complaints about odor and the use of herbicides and pesticides. So it's maybe something that we should be looking at, maybe in our planning or other places. Maybe bring that back to council for consideration, because it does happen where you have the agricultural land running up against residential areas and such.
Right. Okay, council, we've done that, but I'm wondering, although we don't have it on the agenda, that we open for comments from the gallery, as we usually finish with that in terms of our meetings anyway. Can we ask for any comments from the gallery? None? Nope. Motion to adjourn.